So welcome to our gentle class today. Forgot where I was for a second in our gentle class. And our theme this week is around action, taking action. So last week we sort of dreamed big. What do we really want? We posed the question, maybe for some of you, some insight arose, maybe during the class or after the class last week, if you had a chance to do the class, that is. But the idea that getting in tune with what we really want can be quite a process. And then actually making the steps to get that can be even more of a process. And many of us get kind of stuck on taking that first step. And, sometimes we don't have a full vision of where we're going, and it's hard to kind of embark on a journey without really knowing the destination. But I'm here to say action is you're doing action, taking action towards your goal, puts a message out to the universe, and it starts a ball rolling, right? So often if you don't know where you're going, you take a step, and then different options kind of become available to you once you take that step. And then the next step is from those options. And so we have this ability to kind of scan and move, not in a linear way towards a goal. Often it's often that we're, jumping around from one idea to the next as we take that route. So it's not a straight path. But the main thing is that we're taking some action. And so today I'm going to invite you to come back to last week's theme, what you really want. And I'm going to invite you to have a vision of what step you could take, what small action you could take. And I just want to say, if you don't know yet still what you really want, or it's not quite clear for you, feel free to just choose to take action on something that feels good and feels healthy, right? So it may be something as simple as I want to eat more healthy. So one small action that I can do to that end is to maybe drink more water, or to add more vegetables into any meal that you're having in the next day or so. So, so taking some concrete action towards your goal. All right, so we're going to start lying down, and I'll invite you to get comfortable. We'll spend a few minutes lying down, and then we'll move from there. I'm amused right now that a class based on action is starting lying down, but it's a perfect place to start. So you can go ahead and get comfortable. So the message really is that action and inaction can actually be the same thing, right? So our actions have consequences in the world, but our inaction also has consequences. So sometimes doing nothing is actually what we need to do. But today I'm going to invite you to imagine some action that you could take. So as you come to lie down, you can place your hands wherever they're comfortable on your body. And we'll just take a moment to tune into the breath and start to bring our whole attention, our whole being into this place, into this moment. And so we're all coming from somewhere else to join this class, some other activity perhaps. And so it's always good to just take a moment to transition. So as you rest here, you might tune into the feeling of your body on the ground. Feel how your back body interfaces and connects with the ground. Feel those points of pressure on your body, softening and melting into that pressure of the ground. As you exhale, feel yourself letting go a little bit more. If your mind feels really busy right now, you might bring your attention to your breath for a few breaths, simply watching the breath as it comes and goes, maybe following its path through your body if that feels good to you. And with each exhalation, a little softening. Great. And then when you feel ready to begin to move, you can take your arms straight out to your sides along the ground. Stretch the fingers, stretch the hands, reach out from fingertips to fingertips. Feel your arms, any stretch or sensations that you're noticing in your arms. And take a big breath in. As you exhale, slowly start to lift your arms towards each other, overhead, over your chest. And keep bringing the arms so they cross, bringing one arm over the other, and letting your hands come to opposite shoulders with your arms crossed over your chest. And take a few breaths here. If it's possible for you, you might imagine a sense of breath, or feel a sense of breath moving into the back of your body here. And then noticing which arm is on top as you release, taking the arms out to the sides again and reaching out. Strong arms reaching from the core out to the sides. And then when you're ready again, take a big breath in. As you exhale, slowly lifting the arms. This time the opposite arm is coming on top. Hands to shoulders. And if you're not sure, even though I told you to notice which arm, if you're not sure, check in. And if it feels really comfortable, you're probably doing the same side. I noticed that I did that. I thought, oh, well, that seems familiar. So breathing into the back of your shoulders, back of your rib cage. It's a little challenging because we're lying on the ground, but see if you can feel any movement back there. And then you'll slowly open again, taking the arms to the sides and reaching out, growing your arms long. Right. And then finding a position here on the ground for your arms that's comfortable for you. So you could leave them right where they are. If you feel like you want a little bit more stretch and opening, you might try raising the arms a little bit. You want to make sure that A, your shoulders are super comfortable the whole time, and B, that the back of your hands and your elbows can stay on the ground. So if you have to kind of lift the elbows or the arms to thinking that you need to reach higher, let that thought go and just bring your arms to where they can comfortably relax and where you feel maybe a little gentle opening across the chest, but nothing too intense. And then we'll bring the feet right together. So knees and ankles together. And we'll let one knee move down towards the ground. And as you do, you'll probably notice your hips kind of rock to that side. The opposite hip lifts a little. Just let that happen, and then back to center. So back to weight even, and then take the other knee toward the ground. So opening one side, bringing it back to center, and then the other. And what you might notice as you do this, that there's just a little lift in the opposite hip. And a little movement as a result also in your lower back as one hip drops down into the earth and the other hip lifts a little. The knee stays pointing at the ceiling while the other knee releases to the ground. Great, and the next time you come back to center, we'll do something similar but a little different. So instead of one leg at a time, both legs will open. So you'll take the soles of the feet towards each other, knees come apart. And then bring the soles of the feet back to the earth, knees come together, press down into your feet, squeeze your knees together. So you'll find a little rocking motion in your lower back, most likely. If you want to make the movement coordinated with the breath. You can inhale as you open, exhale as you close the knees. And do a few more rounds at your own pace. And you're following your own breath rhythm. And this time, as you bring the knees together, you can pause there. Okay, and we'll lift one knee in toward the chest. You can bring your hands down and give that knee a squeeze, either from the shin or behind the thigh. Right? And then if it feels comfortable for you, try taking that leg that you've had into your chest and bringing it over the other leg. So you're crossing your thighs, so there's no gap between your thighs. Sometimes we do this where we have just the ankle on the knee, but we're trying to stack the knee over top of the knee so that the thighs are pressed together. And if this feels like some sensation and stretch is here for you, you might stay here. And if you feel like you want more and it would feel okay for you, you can lift both legs up and either reach for your closest knee or your furthest knee, or if it's available, you can reach your hands right behind both legs. And we'll stay here for a few breaths, just tuning into what you notice, what you're aware of. If there's pain, as always, you're going to modify or back off. And if it feels good here, you might do a little movement, rocking a little side to side, any little movement, and noticing how sensation maybe changes a little as you move. If it does, it may not. Right, coming back to the center, you can release the legs. And we'll do that butterfly movement a few more times. So opening and closing the knees a few times, maybe coordinating with your breath, but maybe not. If you're coordinating breath, inhale as you open and exhale as you bring the knees together. Great, and then next time your knees are coming back to point at the ceiling, you can bring the opposite knee in towards your chest and give a little squeeze there. Again, either behind the thigh or over the shin. And again, we'll bring that knee over the knee, so thighs on top of, one thigh on top of the other, one knee more or less over the other. You want to check in here with your feet on the ground. This can be quite an intense feeling in the hips. So if it feels okay here and you want to stay here, that's great. You can always release anytime. And if you feel like you want a little more and it would feel good to you, you can gently invite the legs up towards your body. And again, you can hold the nearest knee, which is going to be a little further away, having the legs further away, or you can reach in closer for the farther away knee or reach behind your thighs and hold both legs. So again, I invite you to notice, tune in, breathe. Soften where you can and maybe add movement, only if it would feel good to do a little side to side rocking or movement, squeezing in and releasing a little. So just playing around with how you experience this position, what feels good for you. Great, and then again, as you feel complete with this side, you can go ahead and let your feet come back to the floor, uncrossing your legs. And we'll do a few more rounds of that butterfly position. Hands can be on your body or out to the side, whatever feels good. As you take the knees apart, and then bring the knees back together. Pressing down into your feet, squeezing the knees in. Breathing in as you open the knees, if that breath pattern feels right for you. And then let's come back to the center now and just let your feet go a little further apart. Let your knees fall together. So ideally, there's no effort in holding your legs here. We're going to take a moment now to check in, to tune in and come back to that question. What do you really want? So we dropped this question in last week, and maybe you've had some insight over the week, maybe not. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if you haven't defined what you truly want. You can still work on this action piece. So if you have this idea of where you think you're headed, what you really want, you might now imagine to yourself, what is one tiny, minuscule, small action you could take, ideally today, but sometime over the week, that would be that first action toward that goal, or maybe a 10th action. Maybe you're somewhere in the process of going towards your goal. So what is one thing, one action you could take? And just take a moment. And again, if there's no particular goal or thought in mind of what you truly want, maybe just something healthy, something that would be supportive to you, that would feel good to you, that you could do today for yourself. So take a moment, and when you come up with that one thing, take a moment to picture yourself engaged in this thing. Seeing yourself, if you're able to picture yourself in your mind, or it might just be feeling what it would feel like to take this one small action. You might also notice any resistance that you have to taking action. Maybe you've been procrastinating for a long time and there's a lot of resistance to move through. And I invite you just to notice the resistance. Continue to imagine yourself doing this thing. And I'll remind you as we go through the class to come back to this intention. Right? But for now, taking the arms to the sides, reaching out like we could gather some energy for this intention. And then as you lift your arms towards each other, like you're gathering that energy, bringing the hands together over your chest, bringing the hands to the heart, making an intention for your practice today. That you'll put your effort towards this idea of taking some small action towards your goal. And then we'll reach the hands up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath in. And then exhaling, opening the arms to the sides again. You can leave your arms in this position. Bring them a little higher for a bit more stretch, a little lower for less stretch, whatever feels good for you. And now we'll take the feet about hip distance apart, knees over the ankles, and work on a gentle twist. So letting both knees go to one side. If you like, you can turn your head the opposite way. And then back to center and going the other direction. So again, if you want to coordinate your breath, inhale center, exhale as you go to either side. Or as always, moving and breathing at your own comfortable pace. So I'm going to invite you, if it feels good to stay for a few breaths, you can go ahead and stay in that twist. And I'm going to offer an option as well. So if you come to the center and you feel that you want a little bit more twist, say you're going to twist to the right and stay there, you can take your right leg, cross it over your left, just as we did a little while ago, knee over knee, and then bring both knees down toward the right. And that upper leg draws the lower leg down a little more. Now, if it feels like too much, and it might, because it does add more twist, you'll keep the knees apart and come into the twist in that way. So only if you want more and it feels good, If you've been on one side for a few breaths, you can come back to the center. Again, you might cross the leg, will be on top of the direction that you're going towards if you choose that option. And if you find that going there and you get there and you think, that's too much, then you just come right out, uncross, and find the version that works best for you. And it could be just that one leg down, as we did earlier. So really honor your hips. I give you options not because I think there's a better way at all to do it. I give you options so that you have choices and you can really honor your own body and choose the option that works best for you. Eventually coming back to center, and we'll lift both knees now in toward the chest. And you'll draw the knees gently toward you and then move the knees gently away. So giving a little massage to the lower back. If you like, you can coordinate breath here. It's optional. Exhale as you draw in. Inhale as you move away. And then hugging the knees in any way that feels good to you. It could be behind the thighs, especially if you find that your knees don't want that pressure, that downward pressure to create more flexion. Behind the knees is fine. And then maybe rocking or circling. Again, giving a little massage to your low back. And again, whenever that feels complete, you'll release your feet back to the ground. Great. Take a couple more breaths here. Come back to that one small action, your intention for today's class, to bring some energy to this action. So again, imagine yourself doing this thing, where you will be when you do it, what it will feel like. You even might imagine if there's any sounds associated with doing this thing. This one small action. So you're really getting a flavor and a sense of where you're going, where your next action could be. One big breath in and then exhaling fully. And we're going to slowly shift so you can roll to your side. Use your hand to support you to come upright. And take your time. We've been lying down for a while, so take your time to come upright. We'll make our way right over onto all fours. So however you want to get there. And you can work with this cat-cow movement. Inhaling, arching, exhaling, rounding. If you like, you can add child's pose to your exhalation rather than just rounding. Stay tuned in. Notice the changing sensations in your body as you move. Great. And then let's come up to all fours. Great. So continuing, if you happen to look at the screen, the one camera stopped working, so we're on backup camera. So you're going to now tuck your toes under so that there's a little stretch in the arch in your feet, arches of your feet, and go really gently with this one. So especially if you have any kind of pain in your feet, especially your toe joints. It's a very common place for stiffness and even arthritis. So be gentle. So with toes tucked under, as long as this is comfortable for you, we'll start rocking the weight back toward the feet. So we're adding a little more pressure and you're tuning in if that's okay with you, and then rocking forward. So rocking back, feeling that a little bit of pressure and stretch on your feet, honoring if it's too much, you're just going to skip this part and stay with cat-cow or all fours to child's pose. Every now and again, when your feet need a little break, you'll bring the tops of the feet down and you can kind of tap them against the ground, wake them up, and then tuck your toes under again. Again, always honoring what your body needs, shifting back and forth, or now if you want to bring in a little more intensity to the stretch and that would feel good for you, you can keep your weight back. So walking your hands back, bringing more weight over your feet. So the more your weight is forward, the less stretch you'll feel on your feet. And you probably already discovered that as you've moved back. And then the ultimate would be, if it's at all comfortable or even very comfortable, would be a great goal. I feel sensation here. There's a little bit of intensity, but I can still relax and enjoy the stretch. If not, then I would choose to let my weight come forward and take some of the pressure off, just as I hope you will if that's true for you. Right, now from here, we're going to make our way to a standing forward bend. So if your knees and ankles will allow you to comfortably come to a squat, you can use your hands to lift your knees. If not, my suggestion would be to place one foot forward, use your hands for stability, and then bring the other foot in under. So it doesn't matter how you get there. And then we'll bring the elbows up onto the thighs, letting the head be level or above the heart. Taking a few breaths here. And then if it feels good, you can allow your body to come forward. And again, always honoring any issues with pressure in your head, high blood pressure, ear, eye, head pressure, headache. You're going to stay in that more upright position. And then from the forward bend, and again, lots of cautions today. So if you have issues with your spine, if you have a back that tends to go out regularly, or if you have osteoarthritis or osteoporosis in your spine, you're going to come up by bringing your hands onto your thighs and then lifting up. And otherwise, if your back feels quite healthy, you can allow it to round. Let your head come down and you can roll upright. You just want to avoid rolling if there's any issues with the vertebrae of your spine. So coming upright, right, and once you get there, you can do a few rotations with your shoulders. Just to release after that rolling up, and then coming to stand in mountain pose. I'm just going to adjust a little bit so that you can see, hopefully top to bottom here. Right. So mountain pose, basic standing pose, grounded. Feel your feet on the ground. Lift your toes up, wiggle them around. We're going to work a little bit more with balance today, just as we did last week. So we want to really feel that we have good grounding, a good sense of balance, and really feeling connected to the earth. So balancing on 2 feet, let your weight shift back to your heels a little bit. Feel your heart lift. Shoulders drop. All right, let's take the arms out to the sides. Take a big breath in. Reaching the arms up, bringing the hands together overhead, and bringing the hands down into the center of your chest. And pause here with the strength and the stability of the standing pose. Again, bring into your mind an image of yourself taking action. What is it that you could do to take action today toward your goal. And then from there, lifting that intention, big breath in as you reach up, spreading the arms, reaching down to the sides, and coming back to Tadasana, mountain pose. I'm going to work with a little bit of leg strength now, and moving into, we'll be working towards a pose called Eagle Pose, which I know some of you are familiar with, but we'll break it down and give lots of options. And again, honoring whatever option is right for you today. So we'll start by breathing in, taking the arms up. And as you exhale, we're going to bend the knees and bring the hands to the thighs as if you're about to sit in a chair. And then come up, breathe in. So we'll repeat that a few times, moving dynamically through this pose called Utkatasana, chair pose or half squat. It's actually, the proper name is Ardha Utkatasana. Ardha means half. So the full squat would be sitting right down on the heels, much more challenging for the knees, but easier on the thighs. So let's stay this time. And when you're staying, I invite you to think about your hips moving back and your chest lifting. You can keep your hands on your thighs for support. All right, inhale and lift. Let's now come into a forward bend. So you're going to bend your knees a little bit. Either stop with your hands or elbows on your thighs or reach toward the ground. Take a couple of breaths here, wherever you found yourself comfortable. And then we'll come up this time, taking the arms to the sides and lifting with a nice, strong, long spine all the way up. And exhaling again to release. Great, let's come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. We'll take the feet a little bit apart, bring the hands onto the hips, soften your knees, and do a few circles with your hips. Again, stay connected to the felt sense. So notice all the little nuances of sensation. And if you don't feel much, that's great. And just feel the movement in your body. Be with the movement. Be with your breath. It's all about getting as present with ourselves as we can. So if for you, being present means watching your breath, great. If it means really tuning into the sensations in your body, excellent. So you're always coming back home to yourself, your own experience. All right, let's come back to center now. Bring the feet in a little bit. Okay, and we'll take the arms now out to the sides into this kind of goalpost position or cactus arms, either way. And think about drawing your elbows down and back. So from the side, elbows down and back, chest lifting, breathing in. And then as you exhale, you can bring your elbows in towards each other, rounding your upper back a little. And then opening, breathing in. Your weight might come a little forward and then shift back. All right, now this time opening the arms. And as you bring them towards each other, instead of bringing the elbows and hands together, cross the arms one over the other. So one elbow is stacked on the other elbow as much as possible. The hands come to the shoulders, and then the shoulders and the elbows sink right down. And so this is a variation, a simple variation of the arms in the eagle pose. For most people, this is enough stretch. And if you want more, you could think about bringing the backs of your hands towards each other. And maybe even, if you want more and it's available to you, tucking this bottom hand underneath the thumb side, the base of your thumb on the upper hand. So it looks sort of like this. Now that's quite a stretch on the shoulders and it may be too much for you. So just holding this way. We're really opening up the back space of the body either way, so it's absolutely fine. So again, you're gonna notice which arm is on top, and we'll release. Chest lifting, elbows down and back, take a breath in, and then cross the other way, the other arm on top. As much as possible, elbows stack, shoulders and elbows drop down. Good. And again, if you want, you can try bringing the backs of the hands towards each other. Right, an intermediate step would be if you had a belt or even a sock or something, you could hold one in each hand to keep your hands in this position. Or if it's available, you might be able to reach and tuck your hand underneath the thumb of the upper hand. And so wherever you're at, taking a breath in, we'll release. Right. And then take the arms and stretch them back behind you. Bring your fingers together if that's available to you. If not, just keeping the hands apart. And then draw the shoulder blades down. So don't think about squeezing your shoulder blades back, but just let them rest there. So by holding the hands and letting them rest, you're getting some nice expansion across the chest. Breathing into that space now. Right, and then let's release. Let the arms hang down by your sides. Notice how your arms, chest, shoulders feel. Great. So we're going to come back into the arms of the eagle in a moment and also at the same time play around with the legs. So I always like to set up the arms first, and then we can really set our focus and our gaze to a place that's not moving, and that helps with the balance. And then I like to come into the legs. So I'll demonstrate quickly where we're going with the legs. I'm sure many of you know, but just in case it's been a while. So we'll be coming back to that half squat. Okay, and then options here. You could actually stay with both feet on the ground and do the arms, and that could be your eagle. Right? If you want to work with balance, you can try just shifting your weight to one foot, lifting to the toes of the other, or even just lifting the foot. You could try stretching the leg out if you want to balance a little bit more actively, or you could cross the legs over. And then the toes could be on the ground. Some people can tuck the toes in behind the calf. It's not necessary, right? But those are some options, right? So either way, legs are bent. Bent, weight on one foot a little or a lot. So I'll talk you through those options when we get there as well, but just so you kind of know what's coming. So we'll start by exhaling, sinking into the feet, sinking into the earth. And let's take on a little bit of that eagle energy. So eagles are focused, right? So we're going to start with focus. Taking the arms to the sides, breathing in. Exhale, doesn't matter which, cross one arm over the other and find your eagle arms. So it could be here, holding the shoulders, or one of the options that I showed you a moment ago. You want to look at a spot that's not moving ideally to help with balance, and then we'll take a breath in. Exhale, bend your knees, hips go back, chest lifts. And then notice which arm is on top. So I have my right arm on top, which means I'm going to shift my weight to my right foot. Whichever arm is on top, shift your weight to that foot. And then maybe you just stay there with your toes on the ground. Maybe you lift the toes or straighten the leg. Or perhaps you cross your legs over and come into this version. Good, chest lifting, hips sinking. Find your focus. And then it's time to act as the eagle. So the eagle, focus, focus, focus. And when it's time to act, the wings lift. Good, the legs lift. And then we float down. I say the legs, but we can only lift one at a time. Coming back to mountain pose. Maybe give a little shake Release any tension that you may have inadvertently brought into your body anywhere with the effort of eagle. And then we're going to go ahead and try the other side. So starting with the arms, reaching out, breathing in. As you exhale, bring the opposite arm on top now. Shoulders down, elbows stacked as much as possible. Okay. You can choose another arm position if you liked one of the other ones better and felt better for you. And then when you're ready, you're going to take a breath in, lift through the crown of the head, exhale, sink down into your imaginary chair, hips back, chest lifting. So whichever arm is on top, you're going to shift your weight to that side and then choose, do I keep my toes on the ground? Do I lift my foot? Do I straighten it out or cross it over? Good, toes down or up to help with balance if you need it. Keep your focus. If you fall out of the pose, that's okay. Come back. We fall down, we make mistakes, it's okay. The beauty and the magic is in getting back up again. Right, and then when it's time to act, we release and open the wings, lift the leg, and float back to earth. Good. Coming back to mountain pose. Again, you can give a little shake, just letting go of the effort of eagle pose. Great, let's do a few forward bends to bring the hips and the spine back into a feeling, hopefully, of alignment after that strong asymmetrical pose. So lifting up with a breath in, exhaling, going forward any amount that feels good to you. So you can inhale up, exhale forward if that breathing pattern feels good for you and the pacing is right. And once again, if it feels good to you to stay, you can go ahead and stay a few breaths in that forward bend. Again, elbows on thighs, or you could hold your elbows or let the arms dangle. Try to let your head release. So of course, unless there's a reason why you want to keep your head above your heart, and then you're going to keep your elbows on your thighs. And then we'll make our way back down to the earth. And you can get down the way you came up if you like. So either moving into a squat and then kneeling, or bringing one knee down first and then coming to all fours. So however you want to get there. And you might do a little movement here, circling the hips around, just releasing the hips and the thighs and the lower back. Allow your upper body to flow and move as your hips go. And really just let the body move. So it doesn't have to be circles. It can be any movement that feels good. Right. And then I'll invite you, if it feels good to you, to come back into child's pose. And if it's okay for your thighs and your legs just to release a little bit after the eagle pose, is to take the knees apart. Now, for you, if child's pose isn't comfortable, if sitting like this isn't comfortable, you can certainly have your weight a little higher so the knees aren't being stressed. If it's comfortable, you can bring your hips back towards your heels and rest your head maybe on your hands or on a block or a cushion, or right on the ground if that's available to you. And one more option, if child's pose is just not a pose that you feel comfortable in, just come right onto your back. Come onto your back, hug your knees into your chest, and wait there in a kind of upside down version of child's pose. So any version that works for you. Could be on your forearms, you could have your head on the ground. You might rock a little, releasing the hips, the low back, as long as it feels good. And that's your main gauge. If it doesn't feel good, then we're going to move on. We're not going to force our bodies somewhere where they don't want to go. When you feel complete and ready to move out of that version of child's pose, you can go ahead and come upright, find your way down onto your back again, and however you want to get there. As you come to lie down, you can have your legs straight or bent to begin with. It doesn't matter. We'll take a short rest before we do a little bit of movement and then into Shavasana. And the rest is just to really let the body settle after the effort of eagle pose, the effort of standing. Those of you doing the class live know it's quite a warm day today, so letting the body temperature, the heart rate, and the respiration come back to normal. We'll take a few more breaths here, feeling your body on the ground, softening, letting go. Great. And then as you feel your body start to settle even more, we'll slowly bend the knees. If they're straight, if they're already bent, you can start from there. And we'll bring both knees again to the chest and placing one hand on each knee and just moving the knees in a kind of random way. So one, then the other could be circles, could be forward and back. Just making some movements with the knees any way it feels good. Follow your own intuitive guidance here. You know, just hugging the knees or doing the forward and back, which we do often, if that feels best for you, by all means. Right, and then if it feels comfortable, you can stretch your arms and legs toward the ceiling. Okay. I'm going to press up with one foot and then the other like you're walking on the ceiling, bending and straightening the legs. At the same time, you could circle your wrists. Now your legs don't have to come all the way straight. It may look quite different from your perspective. Good. Circle your wrists the other way. Keep walking on the spot. All right. And then give your arms and legs a shake. Shake, shake, release. Knees to chest. Maybe rocking side to side. You can stay here holding the knees, or for some of you, if you're a fan of the pose Happy Baby, you can reach down the insides of your legs to reach your ankles, or if available, the outsides of your feet, and then rocking a little bit side to side there. And as you're ready, coming back to center, release your feet to the floor. You might want to stretch your arms up, stretch your legs out, and take a nice, long, relaxed stretch through the whole of your body. Maybe try and trigger a yawn while you're here. And then you can lower the arms and either stay here with straight legs or bend your knees. So you're finding your way now to a comfortable position for Shavasana, whatever that might look like for you. If you prefer to sit, that is always a good option too. We'll just roll to one side and come to sit. Lying down for Shavasana seems to generally be the preferred option, so choose what works for you. And the main thing is that you get yourself comfortable so you're not distracted by discomfort in your body. As much as possible, if you need props to support you, get what you need. Make sure that the temperature feels good for you. Again, as much as you're able to control that in this moment. Ideally, to not be disturbed for the next few minutes, you can really sink in. So you might start by coming back to your breath and bringing a little bit of your focus and attention to your exhalation and a feeling of dropping down with each exhalation, feeling of letting go with every out breath. Let the weight of your head sink down if you're lying down, or become centered and relaxed over your shoulders if you're seated. Let all the muscles of your face start to relax. Relax your jaw. Relax your throat and neck. And feel your shoulders start to release, the hands and arms also letting go. Letting go of action and coming into this place of inaction, of rest. So you need both action and inaction, activity and rest to be balanced. Letting yourself sink even more into this moment of rest. Rib cage, belly, lower back releasing. Softening through the pelvis, your hips, softening even more as you drop into the earth. Let your thighs release, your knees soften. Relax your calves, your ankles, your feet, and even your toes. Exhaling into stillness, dropping in even more. I'll share with you a chant that's about lighting our inner fire. So when we have a goal and we need to put some energy into that goal, we need a little bit of fiery energy to get that started, a little spark to get us going, to create action. So you might imagine now your inner fire. What sparks you to action? What lights a flame and gets you moving? You might even just come back to imagining yourself doing that one small act towards your goal. Om Katyayate Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durge Prachodayat. Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durge Prachodayat. We spend a few more breaths here in our active relaxation, our alert relaxation, Shavasana. And as you start to breathe now a little bit more deeply, igniting that fire, that energy that gets you going, maybe stretching and moving your body just any way that would feel good. And if you've been lying down, you might take your time to roll to your side, slowly come upright. And whether you've chosen to stay lying down or if you've come to sit, you can take the arms out to the sides and reach up with a breath in. Bring the palms together, bringing the hands back to your heart. And I invite you, it's not a requirement, it's always an invitation, to come back to your intention today. That intention to act, to take action in the world. And if it feels aligned for you, you might turn that intention into a commitment. So setting a time, setting a place in your mind. You could even, when you get off this call, put it in your calendar if you're not going to go do it right away. So really commit if that feels right for you. If you're not ready, you can just stay with the intention, stay with the imagination. But if you're ready to commit, make that commitment. And then to really seal that commitment, lifting your arms, breathing in, sending that energy out into the world to hold you accountable. And then palms back together. Namaste.